Guys, please don't forget to subscribe to our secondary channel because there we will bring even more Dragon Ball stories and content to you. Keep supporting us. If you are on a smartphone, go to the first link in the description or in the fixed comment. If you are on a computer, open this link in a new tab. Thanks for the support. In an inhospitable place where there was absolutely no one around, someone had woken up. Damn it. What am I? Where am I? What place is this? The birth of Kakarot. In the Zen multiverse, Goku was reunited with all the Hakaishins who apologized for plotting their destruction. They all recognized that without Goku, everything would already be destroyed, but now they were arguing who would be the new king. There should be someone to reign instead of Zeno. And they believed they owed that right to Goku, so Beerus appeared among all of them and said, "We are destroyers. None of us fit to replace Sama. Take this place, Goku. You are the only one capable of governing us." However, Saiyan resisted once again, saying, "Please, Beerus, don't say something like that. I'm the one who started all these catastrophes that occurred. I can't, and I'm not even worthy of ruling. I think we should think about how each of you can take care of your worlds alone. Return to your planets and continue the work you do. The Zen throne will be occupied by a person who really deserves it, Grand Priest." They were all scared when Saiyan said that and questioned the decision. After all, Grand Priest was dead. How could he come back if Umbra saw him erased from existence? He did not die. Existential erasure only sent him to the world of emptiness. I will rescue him so that he can return and take the place. Vegeta questions, "It doesn't seem like a bad idea to me, but tell me, do you at least know how to get to that world of emptiness? As far as I know, it is almost impossible to get out of there. The more I go back and rescue someone. What is Kakarot up to? When I escape from there, let's say I must have opened an access portal. Once I was the first to escape from that world, I can go back there and get him out of the void." After all this talk, all the Hakaishin agreed to return to their planets and continue their work. They trusted the words of Son Goku, and finally, everything seemed to be in perfect balance. Things returned to normal. However, in an unknown place, a character wondered day and night what he was doing there. All that was remembered was his birth. In his memory, it was remembered that his name was Son Goku and that he would have been born from a separation. All he knew was that. That was Goku's evil part. Goku would have made a process to separate his good side from the bad to get rid of the mark of Umbra, so his evil personality was expelled from his body and imprisoned in a parallel dimension. It was then that in the midst of so many questions in his mind, a voice spoke to that character saying, "He rejected you. You are nothing more than an aberration to him." Goku's evil part looks to all sides, questioning who was talking to him. Soon, he saw a bright light in his chest. It was the mark of Umbra, who would have left Goku's side and remained in his other half, the evil one. The mark then shone and said to Saiyan, "I have the answer and the solution to your questions. Ask whatever you want. I will answer you." He is impressed with that and starts asking what he was. "Well, you are the other face of Son Goku, his evil part. He rejected you and used you to stay with me, holding you here for all eternity." At that moment, that new being had a flashback of all the events that occurred. He remembers all the memories of Goku when he faced Frieza, the androids, Cell, and especially when he was betrayed and chained. That being then says, "So you mean I'm not Goku? I'm Kakarot." After saying these words, he felt a strong headache and bends over, feeling a supernatural anguish. And again, the voice of the mark speaks to him. "See, your other self rejected you. You are nothing more than an aberration to him." Goku's evil part looks to all sides, questioning who was talking to him. Soon, he saw a bright light in his chest. It was the mark of Umbra, who would have left Goku's side and remained in his other half, the evil one. The mark then shone and said to Saiyan, "I have the answer and the solution to your questions. Ask whatever you want, I will answer you." He is impressed with that and starts asking what he was. "Well, you are the other face of Son Goku, his evil part. He rejected you and used you to stay with me, holding you here for all eternity." At that moment, that new being had a flashback of all the events that occurred. He remembers all the memories of Goku when he faced Frieza, the androids, Cell, and especially when he was betrayed and chained. That being then says, "So you mean I'm not Goku? I'm Kakarot." After saying these words, he felt a strong headache and bends over, feeling a supernatural anguish. And again, the voice of the Mark speaks to him. "See, your other self rejected you. No more disposable trash for him. Goku used you and chained you here to suffer with me for all eternity." At that time, Kakarot then had the headache intensified. He asks countless times for help, but it didn't help. He was stuck in that place and was a hostage to his own thoughts and the Mark. From that, the Mark takes the opportunity to introduce a terrible hatred in his heart. Kakarot remembers thousands and thousands of times the scene in which Goku separated from him. Then he explodes his ki, awakening a hidden power that he had no idea he had. He looks at a reflection and saw his image. So once again, the Mark of Umbra talks to him. "Now see, you didn't just get the dark part of that cursed. It seems that his power also stayed. I can help you." Kakarot, anguished, answers what he should do and begs for help. Soon the Mark answered him. "You are a perfect copy of Son Goku. That means that everything he does, you are also able to do. I can unlock your powers, give you a capacity beyond comprehension, and I can get you out of here, so you have a delicious revenge against your other half, Son Goku." Kakarot then was influenced by the will of the Mark and says, "I accept. If he did all this to me, then I will make him regret having thrown me here." So a mess occurred. When Kakarot said he accepted the Mark, it took total control and made his chest burn. Suddenly, the same opened his eyes, revealing that they were furious. In Universe 7, Goku was preparing to travel, and Vegeta was interested to accompany him. The two went to him to the place where the portal had been opened, and when they got there, the portal opened again. Goku passes through the portal, but when Vegeta would cross, the lip just simply rejected him and threw him away. Soon, the portal closed, and the two were separated. Goku had already crossed, and when he saw what happened, he put his hands on his head, asking what the hell had happened. It turns out that only the person who managed to get out of the void could pass through the portal. In this case, Vegeta could not accompany Goku. So when the energy of the Fail touched Vegeta, this caused an anomaly that destroyed the gap. Goku tried to find the way out, but it was a failure. He could do nothing. So he decided to fly in the direction of the void. He passes again by the Guardian, but while Goku was flying along the way, suddenly a ray hits his chest and grabs himself. Goku was again pulled to an unknown place. He saw nothing, and when he opened his eyes, he only saw darkness and absolute darkness. That's when suddenly a silhouette appeared to him. "Son Goku, you will pay for rejecting me." Finally, Goku managed to see something, and when he looked at who was in front of him, he did not believe. The being in front of him had his face, and the worse, the Mark of Sumitra was on his chest. What the hell is this? Who are you? It is not remembered. After your psychological outbreak, the Hakaishin and the cursed Vegeta performed a ritual to separate the two of us. They put the curse on me and imprisoned me in this place to suffer forever. Nobody remembered to rescue me, but now I've got a great way to get revenge. Goku remembered what happened, so he said, "Yes, now I remember. You are my bad side. But I had no choice. I had to separate from you, otherwise I would kill everyone." "But wait, how did you get me here? As far as I know, we chained you to a dimensional prison. No one should leave or enter from there." Kakarot unleashed his power and screamed, "It should have been your person to die, not me. Don't you understand the mark that stayed on my body? He told me that there is still a connection between us. I learned that I could bring you here if you somehow went through an anomaly or breach, teleporting you through this our connection. Now that you're here, I can finally discount all my suffering in your person." In the dimensional prison, Goku was suffocated by his own evil half, Kakarot. Furious, Kakarot said, "Since you locked me in this place, I haven't had a day of peace. For a long time, I was without knowledge of who I was, but the seal that put on me refreshed my memory. Now I know who I am and what my goal should be in life." Kakarot then unleashed his power, revealing an evil aura. He screamed, causing a bullet in the whole dimension, making him tremble. Goku put his arms in front of his face because of the terrible frustration that the enemy ass produced. Suddenly, Kakarot stopped screaming and revealed his real power. He reveals a new form. What is this? What negative is this? I never felt anything like it. With the smile on his face, Kakarot explained to his opponent, "The mark told me that I am a negative copy of you. Everything you do, I can also do, but here I do better because I have the courage to do anything without caring about consequences." Quickly, he leaves in the direction of Goku and hits him in the center of his chest. That hurts Saiyan in such a way that he chokes, already spitting by the force of the impact. Really, your Ultra Instinct is quite effective, but how would I make you better than you? I created my own version of your power. I created a negative instinct. So when I felt my ki, I had no reactions because I take all the hopes of victory from my opponent and make his power fail. Kakarot then hit Goku again, who this time managed to react, holding the enemy's fist and then transforming. Goku explodes an attack to burn the clothes of his clone, and that causes a cloud of gigantic smoke. But when it dissipated, Kakarot reappeared, smiling. "Is that all you have to offer? Now please, I'll show you how it's done." The cursed joins his two hands and creates a sphere of excessively large energy. Rays came out of that, and everything shook. Goku starts to feel something strange. He feels fear, frustration, insecurity, all these emotions at the same time. He didn't know what was going on, and his Ultra Instinct starts to fail, since he wasn't being able to focus on the fight. That was the result of Kakarot's evil power. The cursed then laughed and, screaming very loudly, launched that huge sphere of energy towards Goku. It was in the fly, but a moment before he manages to react to the evil influence of his clone resisting, Saiyan grabbed the attack and holds it with both his forces. A battle of forces begins. From above, Kakarot intensified the attack, and Goku tried to resist that. Everything shook, causing a shocking shockwave that took over the dimension. The two seemed to be tied, but then something surreal happened. Without missing any other alternatives, Goku uses Kaioken, 10 times increased. An intense light occurs, and out of nowhere, the great ball of negative energy disappeared. Kakarot looks from side to side and can't understand what had happened. Out of nowhere, Goku had disappeared. Where did that imbecile go? There is no place here where he can hide. He gets furious, but when he least expected it, he feels a hellish heat behind his back. He turns slowly and sees something extraordinary. Goku was in an Ultra Instinct form, holding an absurdly soft sphere in his right hand. After using Kaioken, Goku would have concentrated the attack of his opponent, causing it to focus on a single dense and very hot point. Goku just looks ahead and burns clothes, causing that small and dense point to explode in Kakarot's fake. Then, an indescribable light event occurred. The sphere explodes, causing a greater amount of energy release than a big bang. The sound of the explosion becomes the only audible thing, and Kakarot screams, feeling a terrible and infernal pain. When it all passed, the whole dimension was broken, and the evil copy of Saiyan appeared with his whole chest injured, with difficulty breathing and with serious injuries. Goku was also feeling strong pain, so he would have stopped using Kaioken, but even so, he was very annoying. With great anger, the evil clone said, "Now you deceived me with my own technique. I will make you pay. I will make you regret having done this to me." Even with his body full of serious injuries, Kakarot screams and tries to copy his creator. He tries to use Kaioken, until finally he succeeds and explodes all his ki. Goku looks at that and once again gets scared, but before he realizes it, Kakarot appears well in front of him with a hole in his eyes, grabbing his neck and flying, suffocating Saiyan. Goku is forced to reactivate the Kaioken 10 times increased, thus getting rid of the claws of his rival and stabbing him, and then a blow to the stomach. The two then began to face each other, being on the same level. However, at every moment, the hate in the heart of the evil clone increased more and more. It was when, tired of fighting, Kakarot unleashes everything and uses the Kaioken 20 times increased, causing the opponent to be thrown to the side, spitting against one of the invisible walls of the dimension. With the impact, cracks formed around Goku, and the place seemed about to crumble under the intensity of the clash. While Goku tried to regain his breath, Kakarot, with a smile of satisfaction distorted by hatred and pain, took the advantage of the moment to further increase his power. His body emitted a dark and pulsing aura. His veins seemed about to explode under the pressure of the power he invoked. More and more, his physical form seemed to deteriorate, but his power, paradoxically, only grew. Goku, aware of the danger that this represented, could not allow the fight to prolong. He knew that every second that passed, Kakarot became more dangerous and unstable. With a superhuman effort, Goku stood up, his body still shaking from the effort to contain the previous explosion. Unfortunately, the Kaioken would be ending him, but he looked directly into the eyes of his clone, which reflected nothing but pure evil. "You can have all my power and even be better than me in several things, but you will never have my determination. Fighting is not just about strength or power. This is your weak point," screamed Goku while the silver aura around his body increased. Finally, he hits his abyss, increasing his power by 22 times. Recognizing the need to end that fight, Goku concentrated, his aura shining even more intensely. He then advanced. His speed was almost invisible. Kakarot tried to react, but Goku's movement was unpredictable. With a scream, Goku unleashed a punch that seemed to carry the weight of the entire universe, hitting Kakarot with devastating force. Kakarot was thrown back, but quickly recovered, his anger and pain converting into a new wave of negative energy that he sent in the direction of Goku. The collision between the forces created an explosion of light that consumed everything around, leaving an immense crater in the fabric of the dimension. Recovering, Kakarot laughed, despite the blood that flowed from his wounds. Is that all, my partner? I expected more of myself." Goku feels the weight of Kaioken and his power fails. He was no longer holding that. It was then that his evil clone, realizing the difficulty of his rival, said, "This is the perfect chance for me to show how superior I am and how kindness in your heart weakens you." Kakarot screams. He begins to increase his power more and more. He was using Kaioken like crazy. He starts to increase very slowly. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30 times. Goku looks at that and says, "This guy is crazy. He's going to kill himself." Suddenly, Kakarot feels his bones twist. He spits blood and his entire body bends, making him on his knees. But motivated to take revenge, he says, "I said everything you do, I do, but much better." With a supernatural motivation, Kakarot concentrates all his energies on the final attack. Running in the direction of Goku, he puts his fist forward and uses the Dragon Fist. A red monster appears and hits Goku full. With the intensity of that attack,
The whole dimension was torn to pieces until the moment comes that Kakarot feels intense pain in his chest, which makes him be forced to stop investing. He loses his transformation and he and Goku fell, without them having much strength. Goku returned to normal. His body was burning and had no strength to react until he fainted. His evil clone realizes that he would have exhausted his energies and several of his bones were broken, but he realizes that the dimension would have been destroyed. He looks and sees a complete void, but in the end, a blue portal that shone. Even with great pain, he smiled and said, "It's time for the real Farah to start." The evil clone then released a smile, seeing that an exit existed, so he dragged himself to the portal and went through it. And so Kakarot arrives in the multiverse of Zen. But right after he went through the gap, he feels a strong pain in his chest and bends, feeling his whole body twist. He screams and can't stand it. That suffering was the result of the unbridled use of Kaioken. Not even he managed to increase his power by 30 times. The portal closed after his passage and hours of suffering until the evil clone finally managed to feel a little relief. But when he least expected, Vegeta appeared in front of him with a face of great horror. "Who the hell are you? Why do you look so much like Kakarot? What the hell did you do to him?" Vegeta tries to grab the villain, but before he does that, the evil clone puts his fingers on his forehead and uses teleportation, already expanding his ki so that it wouldn't be followed. Vegeta gets furious, so he hit the place where the portal was several times, but nothing happened. Still burning with anger, the prince departs towards the planet of Beerus in order to warn what had happened. Vegeta quickly departs towards the planet of Beerus to warn what had happened. Meanwhile, Kakarot, the evil part of Goku, fell into an unknown planet, still feeling strong pains for using Kaioken exaggeratedly. The damned thing dragged itself to a cave and erased his ki so that no one would be able to locate him. After a long time, he manages to rest and sleep, seeing if he could regain his strength. However, after a few hours, the mark of Umbra shines again on his chest and says, "What the hell are you doing standing there? Get up! It's time to finish off those insects that trapped you in that prison. Hurry!" Kakarot was exhausted, powerless to stand up. That's when he passed out and stayed in that cave for several days. Somehow, after those days, the mark on his chest returned to shine, and Saiyan finally wakes Ssj, already being able to move. "I didn't take you out of that prison just to end Son Goku. Remember all those beings that trapped you? All of them are free, living on each of their planets. It's time to settle accounts. Let's get revenge on them." As the mark had already taken care of his head, Kakarot begins to feel a great fury by all the responsible for his life to have taken that path. So Saiyan finally left the cave and took out that planet, feeding and getting stronger. After recovering, Kakarot plotted a terrible plan for his revenge. "Now attack Vegeta first. We'll make all those idiots get together again. With everyone together, I can end their race in one go. Of course, if I was able to fight Goku, it is obvious that Vegeta should not be at a very different level of mine. It is decided. The first to fall into my hands will be the Prince of the Saiyans." To draw the attention of his rival, Kakarot rekindled his ki, releasing a scary amount of energy. It was so much power that at the same time, Vegeta was able to feel. "Well, I feel a terribly big ki, but wait, it's not just that. It seems to be evil." Vegeta reasoned that most likely it was a trap, so he informs Beerus and all the other Hakaishins where he would go and keep an eye out if he needed reinforcements.
Putting his fingers on the forehead and concentrating, Vegeta uses the teleportation technique and reaches the planet where the evil clone of Goku was. But as soon as his feet touched the ground, he was already brutally surprised by a blow right in his stomach. It was too fast, and before he can react, another blow has already been applied to his back. Vegeta endures the pain and counterattacks with a kick that threw the unknown enemy to a mountain. With impact, the Great Formation was made in millions of pieces, and a great cloud of dust formed. Vegeta went to the place and said, "Appear, you cursed worm. I know you called me here. Now explain who you are." The dust finally settled, and suddenly flames take the place, and the enemy appeared with a smile on his face, facing the prince. "Well, Vegeta, don't you remember me? I am Kakarot." Without precedence, the villain departs in the direction of the opponent, and the two began to face each other in the sky of the planet. Each blow showed equality in their forces, and while exchanging those attacks, the opponent speaks. "Your friend, Son Goku, fought much better than you. I'm disappointed, very disappointed." Furious, Vegeta put a strong punch in the villain's jaw and moves away, already answering and asking, first of all, he's not my friend, and second, what the hell did you do with Kakarot? "Well, Vegeta, I already answered you. I'm Kakarot. The Goku you know must be floating dead in the void, with a burned body of so much crap he took from me." He laughed out loud, and at that moment, Vegeta understood everything that was happening. "Now I remember. You are the evil part of that worm and somehow left the dimensional prison. How is this possible? No one could escape from there." At that time, the mark of Umbra shone on Kakarot's body, and he said, "You and those Hakaishins are all idiots. They separated me from Goku and chained me in that place and didn't even remember that the mark was still with me. Bunch of idiots. This seal showed me that Goku and I are still somehow connected, and if he went through some anomaly, I could take him wherever I was. We had a beautiful fight, but I prevailed and destroyed that dimension, returning through the portal that your friend left open. The first part of my revenge is complete. Now, Vegeta, I will destroy you, and all those responsible for my life have become hell." Kakarot made the whole place tremble, screaming. The expert explodes his power, and the black aura took over his whole body, which concentrated, and looking at the enemy, Vegeta saw the same with a transformation of huge and red hair. However, suddenly, the prince began to feel fear, insecurity, sadness, all mixed negative feelings. He wonders what the hell was that, being answered by Kakarot. "Everything Goku does, I can do, but I do much better. This is a superior negative instinct. In addition to deviation and counterattacks, he causes in my opponents an agglomeration of negative feelings that make them feel unable to defeat me. Is ready to face me, Vegeta? Or we'll come back to Bulma's lap?" Kakarot lets go of an evil laugh, laughing at the prince's face. However, out of nowhere, something happens. "Well, my friend, you are not the only one with cards in the manga. I will love to test my new power with you. It will be better than with Goku. After all, I can hit your face at will."
I did not expect less from you, Vegeta. Well, it seems that after all, it will not be as easy as I thought. But that's okay, so it will be more fun. The two faced each other, and faster than monkey bait, they advanced towards each other. The speed of their matches was so strong that the wind shook the entire region, and when they exchanged the first of the blows, there was a blast throughout the universe, releasing an immense shockwave that spread throughout the cosmos. No one could see, but the two Saiyans faced each other tirelessly. At such great speed, the time itself was shortened by them. In the form of an Ultra Ego combined with the transformation of Super Saiyan 3, Vegeta finally hits the opponent, causing Kakarot to be knocked back. However, Kakarot lets go of a smile, wiping the blood that ran from his mouth, and looks with a look of disgust. At that moment, he uses his negative instinct in an attempt to make Vegeta lose his concentration and end up with a slide being attacked. However, Vegeta resists the manipulation and grabs Kakarot's head tightly. Violently, he goes to the ground and rubs the enemy's face on the surface. But as he found little, Vegeta made countless laps around the globe that was so fast that it made the planet split in two, causing the explosion in all 4 regions. Not even Vegeta could believe what he had done. Realizing then that the inhabitants would die if he did nothing, the Saiyajin released Kakarot's face, who had been terribly injured and wounded, and used his new power to stabilize the planet, joining the 2 parts again, saving the innocents who were there. Kakarot took advantage of the situation and, coming after the prince, grabbed him. However, Vegeta explodes his ki, throwing the opponent away. Still stammering, Goku's evil clone says, "Hun, you clown, in the end, the perfect way to end you is your own goodness. Renounce to end me to save these idiots you don't even know. Now please, Vegeta, I liked you more when you only cared about yourself, when you had blood in your eyes and didn't give a damn about insignificant and weak worms. That's why I'm better than you and Goku, and why I'm not afraid to do anything." Kakarot then raises his power. He raises his hands to heaven and mercilessly uses a terrible technique consisting of shooting millions and millions of rays per second. The villain makes the technique spread all over the planet, killing all the living and innocent beings on the way. Kakarot laughs at that, but Vegeta screams and flies quickly in the direction of the bastard, and with a headbutt, hits Kakarot's chest. Vegeta grabs the villain, and with the force of impacts, 2 were shot out of the planet. The prince then tries to advance more and more space inside, making them away from the planet. The explosion that followed the impact of Vegeta's blow on Kakarot reverberated through the vacuum of space, distorting reality itself around the 2 warriors as they advanced further and further from the planet. The aura of both began to collide and tear the fabric of the universe. The pressure of their powers was so intense that nearby stars began to blink and go out, as if they were erased by the vastness of their keys. Vegeta, breathing heavily, felt his body pulsate with an energy he had never experienced before. His Ultra Ego was evolving every second, fed by the chaos and violence of the battle. He knew that Kakarot, or his evil clone, was not only fighting to destroy, but also to manipulate. Kakarot wanted to push him to the limits of madness, make him lose control of himself, and return to the merciless monster that Vegeta had been in the past. Kakarot, smiling sadistically, turned in the air and walked away from Vegeta, still feeling the impact of the headbutt on the chest, but without showing signs of weakness. He raised his hand to the sky once again, summoning an immense sphere of negative energy that grew every second. The power accumulated in that sphere was multiversal, able to destroy not only a planet, but to cause damage in several dimensions at the same time. The space around the sphere began to distort, as if gravity itself was being bent by the destructive force concentrated there. "Now, you son of a needle, you will see what happens when someone like you decides to show weakness," Kakarot exclaimed, with an evil smile on his face, and threw the sphere directly towards the prince of the Saiyajins. Vegeta, in response, raised both hands to try to contain the attack, but soon realized that the force behind that technique was immeasurable. "What the hell is this? This energy is totally different from all I've ever felt." His body began to be pushed back, and even with all his strength, he felt that he was being suffocated by the crushing power of Kakarot's fear. But something inside him refused to give in. Vegeta screamed, with his ki exploding in a shockwave and the eyes shining with determination that expanded beyond their limits. He remembered his journey, of his pride, but also of how he had changed. The anger in his heart now mixed with a deeper determination, one that did not depend only on violence or destruction. Vegeta no longer fought for himself. He fought for everyone who trusted him, for his family, for those he had sworn to protect. This new power of mine is supported by destruction, and I will focus on destroying your damned face, you disgusting worm. Feeling his body being elevated to another level of power, Vegeta absorbed the impact of the energy sphere, and his ki expanded, destroying Kakarot's technique with an explosion that swept nearby galaxies. When the cosmic smoke dissipated, Vegeta floated, breathless, but still unbeatable. The little bug son of an eagle. Didn't he die in his calves? Kakarot, now more furious than ever, advanced at an unimaginable speed. He unleashed a sequence of enraged blows, each punch causing cracks in the space around.
Alternate realities began to overlap and distort, as if the impact of his attacks were resounding in multiple dimensions. Kakarot gargled, taking advantage of the increasing quantity, however. With each blow that Vegeta received, he got stronger. The Ultra Ego allowed him to absorb pain and suffering, turning it into pure power. His skills were evolving beyond what he ever imagined. Each Kakarot punch that should weaken him strengthened him, and Vegeta began to react. With a deafening roar, Vegeta took Kakarot's arm and threw it with such brutal force that the evil clone was thrown to a distant planet, crossing mountains and oceans until his body collided with the planet's core, causing a devastating eruption. But the prince didn't stop there. He followed Kakarot, and before the clone could get up, Vegeta was already on top of him, punching him with a fury that cracked the space-time itself. Took the full blow. Kakarot took it alone. Do you think you can manipulate me? Do you think you can play with the pride of a prince? You are nothing more than a shadow, a copy. And me? I am Vegeta, the prince of the Saiyans. Kakarot tried to react with counterattacks, but Vegeta holds his hands and kicks his ribs. However, Kakarot was surprised and manages to get rid of it. Seeing that his current forces were not enough, Kakarot uses the increased Kaioken 10 times. However, when he went to transfer a blow, Vegeta did not retreat. He simply tanked the attack with his chest, and then he raised his head smiling. The evil clone then attacks Vegeta several times. However, the prince did not even deviate. After that, in a scary scene, Vegeta hits the villain with a single blow, throwing him back into space. As the last of his choices, Kakarot uses the increased Kaioken 20 times. He balances again. However, to end that humiliation, Vegeta uses the energy of destruction, a Hakai. A ball comes in your direction, and the energy takes Kakarot's body, and he just starts to die. Vegeta was already quite tired of being beaten, to increase his power, so he was determined to put an end to that enemy. Kakarot tries to get rid of the Hakai, but it was so intense that not even he would resist that. The enemy begins to be erased. However, a voice speaks to Vegeta. Do not do that. You will kill Goku, Vegeta. I know how to end this clone. Evil can be a good alternative to save the universe, but if you do that, Goku will also die, because these two have shared souls. Grumbling, Vegeta complained. Curse. If I don't end this cursed 1 hour or another, he will escape my Hakai. Now but wait, maybe I can do something else. Yes, I can use that technique we used in the past. Mafuba.
Vegeta makes his energy of destruction remains around the body of the evil clone, and there are no chances for him to escape. Kakarot twists back and forth because of the Hakai, but Vegeta teleports with him to Earth quickly, arriving at Master Roshi's house. Vegeta, what happened? Why is Goku so weird? This is not Goku Kame, it's his evil part. This idiot plans to destroy all of us. But if I kill him, Goku will also die, since both have shared souls. We need to use Mafuba. My Hakai won't hurt him for a long time. Master Roshi analyzed the situation and said, Mafuba won't hurt him for a long time either, Vegeta. You need to find Goku so that these two get together again. This is the only way to end the mess. The master then brought a small pot and used the Mafuba technique. Kakarot was still stuck in the Hakai. Vegeta had some time until the container cracked and Kakarot came back. He would have to find Goku, but he didn't know how to do that. Meanwhile, in the void, a person. He opened his eyes. It was Goku, who, opening his eyes, he saw Karai's face again, the king of the void in front of him. Karai, how did I get here? Welcome back, Son Goku. The Guardian found you unconscious on the way to prison. You were lucky, but tell me, what happened? Why did you come back to the void? Goku took a deep breath and said, I came to get the Supreme Priest. We managed to defeat Umbra, but Grand Priest was killed and sent by her here. We need him so that he becomes a new king. Karai lowered his head, saying, Does it mean that Grand Priest is here? Well, know the rules, Son Goku. You can't rescue him. He needs to wake up alone, defeat me, and then have permission to leave. Goku then prostrated before the King of the Void and said, Yes, but I only ask one thing. Let me echo his name in your world. Maybe, if I come, he can wake up from the sleep, and I guarantee that he can beat you in the battle. The Saiyan then goes to the void, where the people were erased, and talks echoing the name of Grand Priest everywhere. He does this countless and countless times, but nothing happens. Seeing that his efforts did not work, the Saiyan then returns to the palace and thanks the King of the Void for his benevolence. Unable to wake up the Supreme Priest, Goku then returns home. He crosses the gate of the Kingdom of Emptiness, going in the direction of the portal that would take him back to Universe 7. However, when he got there, the portal had disappeared. It was no longer there. The Saiyan gets desperate and gets nervous, without having any idea how he would return home. Suddenly, the Guardian reappeared, saying, Son Goku, how long? Unfortunately, there is nothing you can do to reopen the portal. Your clone went through him and closed on the outside. Only someone who is in Universe 7 can reopen it. The Saiyan then remembered what had happened and said, If my clone went to the Zen multiverse, it means they're thinking I'm him. What is that damn thing doing there? On Earth, Vegeta thought how he could bring Goku back. It was then that he had the idea to go back to the place where the portal was. Getting there, Saiyan was unable to see anything but darkness and some stars nearby. He tries to find the gap but can't find it. Without much patience,
Vegeta transformed again into his Ultra Ego, and furious, launches a burst of energy in the direction of darkness. When the attack was launched, an energy wave occurs that spreads all over the place. It was so strong that made Vegeta fall and lose focus. The prince looks ahead and saw a blue circle slowly forming. Unintentionally, Vegeta had broken the seal that the evil part had placed, reopening the portal. On the side of the empty world, the gap opened again, and Goku is sucked again, passing through the gap and reappearing in the Zen multiverse. Now if it's not Margarito, finally, your clown is back. Your clone is making a mess around here. Goku didn't expect anything, and asks where he was and what had happened. It's all right. I give him a big slap. The little bug was bad, but it was just a cheap copy of yours. I couldn't kill him. Otherwise, you would also die for having a shared soul. That's why I and Master Roshi, we caught the damn Mafuba. Now, we need to get you two together again. This is the only way to end him. Discussing the situation, the two soon teleport to Earth. Arriving, Master Roshi explained how they would do that. So, the Mafuba cracked, and Kakarot came out of the vase still trapped in the Hakai. Vegeta holds the villain. However, unexpectedly, Kakarot screams trying to resist the control of the prince. He tries to control the energy and explodes his power, trying to get it away from his body. Out of nowhere, the ground begins to shake. The clouds became dark and loaded, and a storm of winds took over the region, and the whole land was affected. Goku tries to understand what was happening, and at that same time, Master Roshi and Vegeta use a ritual to join Goku and Kakarot again in one body. However, Kakarot screams that he would never be one with his creator again. And in a scene of fear, he got rid of the Hakai that still managed to support him. The miserable causes a shockwave that knocks Goku and Vegeta to the ground and faces them with a scary look. However, as much as he was strong, he wouldn't be able to fight Goku and Vegeta together. One way or another, his defeat was right. Great, he already did his show, but he won't take care of us both. What will you do? Use the increased Kaioken 100 times? Kakarot laughed and said, "No." Well, I have something much better. Saiyan, look at the sky. Sighting the moon. Goku soon realized what he was going to do and tries to stop. However, Kakarot begins to grow and assume a daring form. Vegeta tries to destroy the moon. However, Kakarot prevents them by applying a mysterious pressure on them that they just couldn't resist. The evil clone then assumes his giant monkey form, and Goku and Vegeta seeing that, they say, "But what the hell is this worm planning?" Suddenly, that daring begins to decrease in size and to get small again. The Saiyans observe the transformation scared until Kakarot resurrected with a new form. I said, everything you do, I do. Only I do much better. Kakarot, the evil part of Goku, had conquered a new transformation, a never seen before, by Goku and Vegeta. Goku, watching scared, said, "Impossible. There should be nothing beyond level 3. How did you do that?" "Simple, my dear creator. The answer was always under your nose. Everything you are able to do, I do, but I do better." With his new form, Kakarot stands in the middle of the air, waiting for some investment from the two. So, Vegeta goes with everything in his direction, trying to hit him. However, Kakarot does not deviate from the attack. He remains standing and still. It was then that something scary happened. Vegeta's fist went straight through the enemy, as if it were some kind of ghost. Goku, seeing the scene, also tries to help the prince. The two began to deflect attacks on the opponent, but the same began to deviate from them with great ease, not showing any tiredness in doing that. "Curse, fight with us, you cursed insect." With a tone of debauchery, the villain laughed, saying, "Fight you now. As they are naive, I do not need to fight. To tell the truth, I do not even need to move a muscle to make the two fall at my feet." Vegeta could not stand so much debauchery from him and went up trying to deflect another attack. However, Kakarot holds the prince, and using the power of his mind, he makes use of his evil superior instinct to influence Vegeta. The prince starts to feel dumb. He tries to resist the manipulation. However, that was very intense, and Kakarot takes control and makes Vegeta attack Goku. What? Malika, Vegeta, stop it. You are being manipulated. However, the Saiyajin this time could not resist that. If a fight starts between the two Saiyajins, Vegeta hits a flyer, and then he throws Goku with everything towards the ocean. This tears the waters, raising a great wave as a result of the strength and speed with which the Saiyajin was thrown. Kakarot just watched the situation and laughed a lot about what was happening. Before Goku returned, Vegeta appeared in front of him, already putting a kick in the stomach. Goku coughs pain, but soon he reacts. He grabs Vegeta's fists, and the two began to measure forces, one trying to move away from the other. In his mind, Goku thought, I cannot fall into this manipulation. I have to try to make Vegeta wake up from this brainwash. They two then turned into their most powerful transformations. Goku uses the Ultra Instinct Phase 3, while his Ultra Ego opponent also in the third phase. They tried to move away from each other, and they start the attack by changing the sequence of blows. Their powers collided with the intensity that made the sky shake and the sea roar below them. The impact of their blows was so violent that it created shockwaves that spread across the ocean, raising water columns and opening craters on the surface of the sea. The aura of both warriors irradiated energy in all directions, making the environment around them vibrate, as if nature itself was reacting to the fury of the combat. Vegeta, see if you fight against it. I know you are stronger than Kakarot's influence, screamed Goku, feeling the weight of the Prince Saiyajin's hands trying to crush him. But Vegeta, with black eyes due to the evil influence, it was completely under Kakarot's control. Without a hint of self-awareness, Kakarot floated above, watching with a diabolical smile, while they exchanged punches and kicks at a speed beyond the limits of consciousness. Vegeta stood up, carrying a burst of purple and dark energy, the signature of his evil Ultra Ego. Without hesitation, he fired at Goku,
who had little time to react. The attack hit Goku in full, launching the Paramanji as a beginning, destroying everything in its path before finally hitting a nearby island, causing a huge explosion. The smoke rose, but before it could dissipate, Vegeta was already on Goku again, with his hands wrapped in energy, ready for another devastating attack. Goku, still stunned by the explosion, he tried to get up, but was immediately pressed by Vegeta. He could feel the weight of the dark energy suffocating him. Goku quickly stood up in a Kamehameha to try to contain the opponent's invasion. But the fury and evil control over the prince made it seem unstoppable. Vegeta launched himself directly against Goku's slash, crossing the air and hitting Goku in the abdomen with a devastating knee. The impact was so violent that the ground below them crumbled, creating a gigantic crater on the island. "You idiot! What's going on with you?" Goku thought, feeling the pain tingling in his body as he tried to recover, while Vegeta was preparing to unleash another brutal attack. Goku felt he needed to take action. He knew that if it continued like this, Vegeta could end up destroying everything, even himself. He needed to break Kakarot's control over the prince. Suddenly, an idea came to mind. It seems that attacking has no effect on him, but I know how I can hurt Vegeta's pride. Of course,
His pride was always the weak point and the strong at the same time. Thus, Goku shouted, "Hey, Vegeta, aren't you ashamed to have let this clown control your mind? Look at that. The great prince of the Saiyans, controlled by an enemy with my face? What a shame! I expected more from you." For a brief moment, Vegeta's eyes faltered. A flame of recognition flashed on them, but it was quickly suppressed by Kakarot's influence. He wraps his fist with destructive energy, striking Goku with all his strength. Goku managed to dodge. Vegeta's punch crossed the space where his head was just a second before. He felt the air around him distort with the force of the attack. Knowing he needed to buy time, Goku used his superior speed in the Ultra Instinct to get away from Vegeta, moving so fast that it seemed to be disappearing and reappearing at different points around the improvised arena. The prince sighed in frustration, chasing Goku with a blind fury. "Come on, Vegeta, what was it? Was it too weak to follow me?" After saying that, Goku saw that the Saiyajin was furious and increased his speed to try to follow him. It was then that he had an idea. Use Kaioken, 20 times increased. And stopping to move, Goku hits a blow with everything in Vegeta's stomach, paralyzing the prince, who is shocked by the violence of the blow. And then Goku says, "You are Beta. Aren't you ashamed to call yourself the Saiyajin of the warrior class and let yourself dominated by a fake copy of me?" At that moment, Vegeta felt a great fury, and that was enough for him to have a little self-control. For a second, he regained consciousness and returns to the control of his mind. And exploding his ki, he destroys everything around him, screaming, "Your worm? How dare you hypnotize me?" Kakarot, who was floating above them, he went to the Saiyajins and said, "It was a lot of fun, my friends. This afternoon they made me laugh too much." Outraged, Goku and Vegeta leave with everything in his direction. They hit them at the same time, but Kakarot holds and lives the situation. After that, the two begin to attempt attacks on the enemy. However, the clown easily dodges all the blows. They spend a lot of time like this, and they just couldn't hit the enemy. However, suddenly, the Hakaishins, they all appeared there. Kakarot felt a strange presence behind him, and when he turned around, he saw all the destroyers together, with a closed face. At that moment, Umbra's mark burned in his chest. Kakarot feels a terrible pain close to his heart, and prostrates on the floor, trying to understand what was happening. Then, the mark, with Umbra's consciousness, says in his mind, "These are responsible for my death. Buy your share of the deal. End them." Kakarot was suffocated by the will and thirst of revenge of the mark. He screams in great pain, being corroded by the seal. Seeing that Kakarot was in trouble, Goku said, "Vegeta, this is our chance to do that. Now, you idiot. Don't tell me you want to do that thing again? Yes, Vegeta, it's our only choice. Let's merge." Kakarot, looking at the 12 destroyers, then he felt a huge hole inside him. Suddenly, he lost control of himself and started to go crazy. Goku, seeing that his clone was having these problems, said, "Vegeta, this is the perfect time for us to do that. Vegeta, let's merge." Vegeta twisted his eye, turning his face with hatred of what he just heard. But he even knew that was the only way to defeat Kakarot. So he accepted. The two Saiyajins. They positioned themselves, and making the dance, they made Gogeta reappear, while the evil part of Goku was still out of control. Gogeta transformed, reaching the blue form, and already leaving with everything in the direction of the enemy. He hit such a powerful attack that the same was launched to kilometers away. With the impact of the blow, Kakarot had his mind restored, and being launched away from the Hakaishin, the fury inside him ceased. Returning to normal, Kakarot hits his new transformation again, but Gogeta was already in front of him, and he hits him one more time, launching this time the villain to heaven. Kakarot was thrown into the sky, with the crushing force of Gogeta's attack. His body barely managing to remain cohesive amidst so much energy. The battle had escalated to a level that not even the destroyers themselves could fully understand. Gogeta, now in his blue form, floated with an enveloping aura, pure and bright, symbolizing the peak of power of the two most powerful combined Saiyans. Kakarot, however, even after being thrown away, he was not willing to give up so easily. The pain he felt from the mark of Symmetra on his chest seemed to ignite an even more intense fury within him. His eyes shone with a deep hatred, and he released a roar that echoed through all dimensions. You all will pay," he shouted, with his voice reverberating through the sky. Finding the fabric of reality around him, Kakarot's body began to twist, and his aura changed drastically. The evil power he had acquired amplified once again. Black rays of energy emerged around him, and the sky began to break into pieces, like broken glass. He was exceeding the limits of any power ever seen. Gogeta observed, realizing the magnitude of what was to come. He is breaking the barriers of the multiverse. If we don't stop him now, he can destroy everything. Kakarot, now enveloped in an aura of pure destruction, advanced at an unimaginable speed, almost as if he were everywhere at the same time. He reappeared in front of Gogeta, unleashing a punch that seemed to be capable of erasing entire planets. The impact was so strong that the very reality around them shuddered, and the dimensions began to bend like a broken mirror. Gogeta, however, was not just any warrior. He blocked Kakarot's punch with one hand, but the force still pushed him several kilometers backward, creating cracks in the ground below them. You got stronger, but that won't be enough. The fight then intensified. Kakarot unleashed blows in all directions, each attack more violent than the previous one, while Gogeta responded with a series of precise and devastating counterattacks. At each collision of his fists, the space around him was distorted, energy waves being led and destroying everything in its path. The Hakaishins, watching from afar, observed carefully. They knew that if Kakarot were not defeated, he could become a threat not only for that timeline. Gogeta is giving everything, but Kakarot, he transcended something that we do not even fully understand, murmured Beerus, while his eyes showed with a rare concern. Back to battle, Kakarot managed to open a small gap in Gogeta's defense, hitting him with a burst of energy that threw him away. But before he could celebrate, Gogeta resurfaced in front of him with a speed that challenged logic. Big Bang Kamehameha! Gogeta joining his hands and firing a terrible attack of blue energy. The wave of power was so intense that it tore the sky, crossing dimensions and consuming Kakarot. For a moment, it seemed that the villain would be defeated. But in the middle of the energy feast, the figure of Kakarot emerged, resisting the titanic force of the attack with pure fury. His eyes shone with hatred and unlimited power. "You will not stop me, Gogeta!" Gogeta choked his tears. He knew he could not prolong this battle. He needed to end that now, and said, "The time has come. Either I do this, or the time of the fusion will end. It's time for you to discipline." Who was there knelt down before Grand Priest, saying, "We need a new king who governs and unites us. Supreme Priest, accept this position that is yours by right." He is surprised and tries to resist. However, he was convinced by Goku that he was the only one capable of governing, so he ended up giving in. Thus, Grand Priest becomes the new Supreme King of the Xeno Kingdom, and with all the threats eliminated, there was never any more problem. Everything had its perfect end, ending in peace. Goku and his friends returned to their normal routines. Thank you for watching.